Hi, this is Ingrid and welcome to my WinterBookLand. So I got this suggestion pretty early on in my video posting. I'm gonna not edit that because I'm a bit lazy today. But I got a suggestion for a tag that pretty much fitted international booktubers a lot. So I'm gonna actually do that. Basically this video was actually supposed to go out next week, but I realized that I wanted it out this week, and then my a bit longer discussion video can come out next week, because next week is a discussion video as well, and I actually think it could be pretty interesting. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Someone suggested to me the Read Your Country tag. That's what I think it's called. And to me it sounded really interesting. I really like the questions. There's one question here that I don't have an answer to really, because it's such a specific question and my country is so fucking small. But I'll explain more about that when we get to that question. So without further ado, I think we should just start a tag. So the first question is, what country are you going to talk about? And that is pretty obvious, it is Norway. Now the second question is, what is your favorite childhood book from your country? Now, I've written up a lot of things on these questions because my mind just kind of goes back in time and I remember more and more things. But I remember when I was young, I wasn't really hung up on any specific stories, but there was this one kind of myth that we have, Huldra, which I was really fascinated by. There's this kind of myth about this, I wouldn't say fairy, I think she's a troll. I don't quite remember, but there's this woman that kind of tricks men, and the thing, she has a tail and she has a hole in her back, and just research her yourself, because I was really fascinated by every single myth and sangin is what we call it. I will put the translation up here about her, and it was just a really fun thing that I was really obsessed with. I kind of went through a lot of childhood things, search them up on the internet, and I remember Captain Sabeltann. He's basically Captain Sabertooth, that's the translation of it. He is a children's figure and he is very well known. I'm gonna link a Tumblr account that is dedicated to him down below, because I am pretty sure the entire population of Norway just adores Captain Sabeltann to a very high degree. He's the captain of a pirate ship, and they steal and they loot, and there are songs out on Spotify and they are pretty much just bop after bop after bop. So I recommend just searching up all of the music, because it's really enjoyable to listen to. Another thing that I remember from my childhood, this is Danish, though I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is a Danish, but that is Marikken. My sister and me used to listen to this song that was sung by these two girls. It was Marikken and her little sister, I think, and we assigned roles and kind of sung the parts to each other, and it was just such a throwback when I found that song just randomly on YouTube, and I just sent it to my sister and it was memories. The third question is, what is a book from your country that you read in school? Here we're gonna get a bit on the serious side, because I don't really remember a lot of books that we read in school. I remember quite vaguely something about Roald Dahl, but aside from him, I couldn't remember much until I remembered we had this project when I was around 11. I'm not gonna say grades and stuff, because that's such a different thing from America to Norway. But I remember we had this project about the Second World War, and then our teacher read this book to us called Så tok de igjen vårt liv. It's about a family from the village where I live, about how they helped refugees during the Second World War to get out of Norway, and it's based on a real story, I think, or it's just a pure description of everything that happened. I can't quite remember, but it was a really insightful book. I keep turning off my phone when I answer the question. It's You have to turn it on each time after though. Okay, and here's the fourth question which I couldn't find an answer to. And that is, what is a book set in your favorite area of your country, and or what's a book set in a place that you'd like to visit in your country? And I can't really answer this because the Norwegian books I read, they aren't very like space specific. So I could literally not find any book that was based in a place I wanted to visit or a place in my country. So I'm sorry. Then we have the fifth point, which is, what is a historical fiction book set in your country? And here I had no answer before I read Slangeringen, because Slangeringen is one of the most amazing books ever written, and I'm sure there are a lot of like other historical fictions in Norway. We have these kind of long series, like a book series that follows the entire era of a family. I think those count as historical fictions, but I haven't read. So my answer here is Slangeringen, simply because I have not read any other books than that. And the sixth question is, what is the book by an indigenous author from your country? The thing here is that I haven't read like any indigenous authors, because like the indigenous people of our country, the Sami, they have their own language, and most of the books are published in that language. So most of the time it's things like poems and songs and small texts I've read for school that I've read by a Sami author. A lot of books written by Sami authors aren't really in my type of genre, so I haven't really read them. So I can't really give you an opinion on how the books are, but from the small poems I've read and like the short stories, you should definitely check out some Sami authors, just because it's kind of interesting to read, and a lot of like Sami like texts and stuff like that is really influenced by their history and the assimilation that happened in Norway. So there are really nice history lessons as well. And the seventh question is, what is a classic book from your country? And here the thing about Norway is that we're really like obsessed with our folk tales. I would just recommend reading something from Asbjørnsen and Moe. Because they're kind of like the Grimms of Norway. They went around collecting Norwegian folk tales and printed them, because a lot of, similar to Germany, a lot of Norwegian folk tales will just passed around down vocally, and they really weren't written down. So they went around the entirety of Norway and collected stories. One I would recommend though is the Ludvig Holberg. Keep in mind that he is considered both Norwegian and Danish, and we're kind of fighting about who gets to have him, but I'm pretty sure that he counts as a Norwegian. He wrote a lot of plays, I think, and he has written a lot of society critical things that were critical of the society at the time, and I recommend just looking into his work because he has a really specific and creative way of writing his stories. And the eighth question is, what is the book from your country that you haven't read but would like to read? And here, like, I'm not going to be very specific at all, but I would like to read something by Jon Nesbø, simply because he's such a big author and everyone in Norway kind of knows him, so I kind of feel like left out of the loop because I haven't read anything by him. And I will also like to read some more historical things like Camilla Collett, Welhaven Wergeland or Ivar Aasen, simply because I think historically their work is kind of important and I would like to know more about it. And the ninth question is, what are some of your favorite authors or books from your country? So again, I'm going to mention Slangeringen simply because it's so well written. And we have Marie Moen Holsve with Halvgudene. But mostly I feel like a lot of the books from Norway that are more aimed towards teenagers and young adults are quite childish. I'll have a video up on it, on the Norwegian book industry, simply because I'm so like angry about it. I don't have a favorite author from Norway because a lot of Norwegian books aimed towards my age demographic aren't really serious. I don't feel like the authors are taking the subjects really serious, so I can't really say much about that. But since so many already consider Norway the capital of Sweden, I will recommend a Swedish series to you that is already translated into English, so you don't have to teach yourself Swedish to read it. Is The Circle, I think it's called, and I have to search up the authors because I never come prepared. We love that for me. How can you tell that Ingrid is currently obsessed with Pacific Rim? She has 25 tabs open with fanfiction. It is written by Mats Strandberg and Sara B. Elfgren. It is a contemporary fantasy, so there's a lot of like witchcraft and like fantasy elements that I think I incorporated very well into the story. And also the teenagers in these books act like actual teenagers. And this book has a case of the chosen one, where a character is the chosen one. But I feel like they handle it very well, because like it's not one chosen one, it's 6. I think that they have a lot of tropes that they use in a turnabout way. It doesn't get cliche or anything like that, it's just there and they use it well, just like My Hero Academia is doing for the anime industry. I feel like these books do for the book industry because they are so subversive and well done. And that was my Read Your Country tag. I will leave a link to the original video down in the description. I hope you found my video interesting and fun to watch, and I hope you actually got something out of it instead of me just rambling about random stuff. My camera is dying right now. I had planned a double filming, but that is not gonna happen because my camera is like on its last leg. Oh my god. But I appreciate you watching my video. I appreciate you actually clicking on my video and actually taking the time to... I realize now that I probably talked very fast in this video. Sorry, it's something I do when I get nervous. If you would like to know more about the stuff I mentioned or discuss it, you could leave a comment. If you like what I had to say, you can leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more of my content, and I will see you in my next video.